Hi guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and as usual all the necessary links in the video description and my test system setup details also in the video description. You may remember ZD3 Fosi audio digital to analog converter that I've reviewed, and that was so good that it went straight to my recommendation list. Well, it seems that Fosi guys had been busy, as now we have ZH3, that is a headphone amplifier, available. This is joining the ZA3 and ZD3, having the same design and style. So let's take a look at that. Yep, that's the first one, and that would be the second one, yeah? So we can have a stack that's matching. Let me move the camera a little like that. We can have a matching stack right now, and the last one down there is joining the other two. There are also found 3 monos, but they are a little bit smaller, so they are a little bit different when it comes to the design, although either way similar. Now, so this is marketed as a powerful and, let's say, impressively powerful headphone amplifier, but according to specification it has also a really competent digital to analog converter chip inside. This amplifier is specified as able to deliver more than 2.5 watts per channel, so that should be able to drive basically anything on the market, and actually could be powerful enough to drive some small speakers too. I'm joking, but seriously, 2.5 watts per channel really is a lot. So let's talk some numbers first. The numbers. Specification says that this little guy uses XMOS XU316 USB serial controller, and the digital to analog converter inside is none other than Asahi Kasei 4493 SEQ. So this is not exactly, as far as I remember the model numbers, this is not exactly the flagship 4493. I think this was one of the low-powered versions. I'm not sure about that, but still, that's excellent converter. And the actual numbers, the headphone output is specified as being able to deliver 2570 milliwatts per channel into 32 ohms load. As I've said, that's more than 2.5 watts. That's a lot. And when it comes to the decoder part, it can accept anything up to PCM 32 bits and 768 kilohertz, and DSD 512. The analog part numbers are signal to noise ratio 119 decibels for the balanced output and for the XLR output, and 121 decibels SNR for the single-ended headphone output and single-ended RCA output. Dynamic range, again, 119 decibels for the balanced outputs, the headphone one and the XLR one, again 121 for the single-ended ones. THD is specified as 0.0019%, so that's 2 zeros after the comma, for the balanced outputs, and THD for the single-ended outputs is slightly higher because it's something like 0.0021 as far as I remember percent. This is interesting because it seems that in this particular case, single-ended and RCAs are a little bit cleaner than balanced output here and the XLR output on the back. I was trying to test for that. I was using different types of headphones, and I was using both outputs on the back of this amplifier, but I wasn't able to hear any difference. Basically, that's way over my hearing threshold, probably, and the difference is very small because it's like 2 decibels in a range of 119 and 121. So, but still, it's very interesting because usually balanced outputs are cleaner, more dynamic, and have better signal to noise ratio. Now, let's talk about the build and functionality. So, the first thing, let's talk about the functionality. This thing is a headphone amplifier. So in front of the device you'll have a display and two sets of headphone connectors. One is for single-ended 6.5mm jack, and you do get an adapter for 3.5 in the box, and the second one is balanced 4.4. Interestingly, this one is PO like phone output, and this one is BAL like balanced. And we also get a rotary knob that's actually an encoder, and it doubles as a switch that allows us to enter the menu. Interestingly, to get back from the menu to the main screen, you do not hold this pressed for a while, as was my first thing that came to my mind, but you need to do a fast double click. Yeah. So let's talk about the menu options before we'll take a look at the back. You enter the menu by pressing the volume knob, and the menu contents changes slightly depending on the actual functionality chosen in the configuration, because this can work as a headphone amplifier, this can work as a digital to analog converter with a fixed volume level, and this can also work as a digital to analog converter with regulated volume level. And these three modes are slightly different. That's why this manual is really useful, because it explains the differences and marks which options are available in which particular configuration. It's also pretty thick because it does have a couple of languages inside. But this one is actually useful. Okay, so let's get to the menu, and at this moment I've set this as a headphone amplifier. So you can see the sampling rate, you can see the chosen input as USB, and you can see that we do have some tone controls, and the output is set to headphone outputs. So you are working your way throughout the menu, rotating the knob and clicking the relevant position. In the input position, in the input selector, we can choose, as you can see, USB, optical input, coaxial input, RCA input. This one is actually analog input, and that's pretty interesting because that's a rarity in headphone amplifiers and digital to analog converters to have separate analog input. And you can choose USB input again. Okay, as for output, you can choose phone output, that would be those guys. You can choose auxiliary, and the name is strange, but this actually means the outputs on the back, but with volume control available. Or you can choose LO, which is line output, and that would be the same guys on the back, but with fixed maximum volume level. Actually, I think that's bypassing the volume control completely. And if you are using one of these three options, the other many options available to you will be changing accordingly. So let's stay with headphone amplifier, and now we can choose to change the bass controls. And this is, by the way, one of the things that I'm not really fond of in the menu control system, because when you're selecting the particular options, you cannot scroll the wheel in a quick way. You have to do it slowly. Okay, yeah, one click too much. And then you can choose to change the treble setting, and you will be thinking that you've selected the new values, that you should hear some kind of difference. And not really, because there is a second part of the menu that you may access by rotating the knob further, and in this position there is a bypass position. So if the bypass is set to yes, it means that it bypasses tone controls. So you may be changing those guys here, but unless you will change the bypass here, this won't do anything for your sound quality. Now, we can change the gain level. We have three options: high, low, and medium. Just a few days ago, I've seen the first thread on ASR with measurements, and Amu says that basically medium is the same thing as low when it comes to noise and distortion. The high gain takes a very little penalty when it comes to the distortion, but in my tests the high gain was, let's say, the most dynamic one. I liked the high gain setting the most. Okay, so let's get back there. And the next one is for setting UAC for USB input. The default is 2.0, so that's basically for this headphone amplifier to work with all of PCs and modern devices, but you can also change that to 1.0 for some gaming consoles. Okay, and then you have filters. These are the filters that are available from the Asahi Kasei chip, but they had been renamed. The description is in the manual. The names here, let's say, they are more sexy and easier to understand for most of the common folk, but these are basically filters like sharper roll-off, slower roll-off, apodizing, etc. So if you take a look at the manual, you'll see which one of those is which one of the Asahi Kasei ones. So I'm preferring sharper roll-off with powerful dynamic. That's what it does. Let's leave it like that. And here you have a bypass. If the bypass is set to yes, then the controls on the first screen for the bass and treble do not mean a thing. Okay. And we are back here. Now, if we will change the output to auxiliary or line out, you will see that this will be disabled. And the same goes for gain and bypass, meaning that choosing any of the digital to analog converter modes will disable any additional signal processing, which is actually quite nice, because this way you'll get very clean output. Now, if you take a listen here, you will be able to hear the relays clicking. Let's change that to phone output. Yeah, and again. Yeah, so basically inside we have relays that are redirecting signal to either front outputs or the outputs in the back. And that kind of explains how it works. If you take a look at the Fosi site, I will try to remember to link to that. There is a very nice block diagram that shows exactly how this thing is built inside. But we will take a look at the inside build just in a second. Now, let's power that guy off. Yeah. And let's take a look at the back. Yeah, by the way, this is my Tuya Smart Remote, so I was using it as a stand. Now, let's take a look at the back, and give me a second. Let's rotate this little guy. And in the back, we have one set of balanced XLR outputs, one set of single-ended RCA outputs, one set of single-ended inputs, analog inputs, optical SPDIF input, coaxial SPDIF input, USB input with USB-C plug, and we have trigger controls. Trigger in and trigger out, they both work with 12 volts standard, and you will find a trigger cable, which is basically just a 3.5 to 3.5 millimeter jack cable in the box. The power supply is DC 12 volts. That's actually this guy. It's using standard leaf clover cable. So if and the power supply, as you can see, it's universal for both and for anything between 120 and 240 volts. So if you'll be able to get that guy on some kind of sale, but with, for example, US adapter, and you're living in the EU, or the other way around, you are based in the States and you'll see something with a very good price, but with EU adapter, do not worry, get it and just replace that cable. This power supply, by the way, is way better than the one that was delivered with ZH3, but still can be better, but we'll talk about that later. So let's connect that back. And with all that said, let's take a look inside. This is actually very simple to disassemble because you just need to remove those two screws that can be found here. The one is here and the other one is on the other side, and that's basically it. Just two screws and it's ready. Okay, so let's move them here. Now, the first thing you need to do is to slide the front. Why? Because there are two things connected with flat cables, the rotary control and the display. The rotary control uses standard keyed connector, so it's easy to disconnect. But this guy, you have to remember that this is a flat tape with a lock. So you have to lift the lock up, like that, and then you can remove the tape. If you will forget to remove the lock, you can damage the tape, and you will not want that. So now we can just slide the back. If it doesn't want to go by pulling, it goes, but if it would be resisting, you need to just push here on the PCB. So let's move my camera and let's take a look at the actual PCB and what's interesting here. So the first thing that you'll notice is that the power supply section is not super duper high quality, because it's basically a couple of regulators and this guy here, and this is 470 microfarads only, and that is why, one of the reasons why this particular unit, the same as it was with ZH3, reacts very well to the external power supplies. And so about that, there were some sirens outside and I had to pause the video. So this is just one single power filtering capacitor. We can see that we have separate board for the optical input and triggers, and here we have XMOS control board. This is XU316. What else do we have here? We have the CPU that controls the whole logic of the unit. We have two relays that are controlling the selected outputs. As you can see, there are two small boards for the headphone outputs, and those guys are connected to the main board with those connectors. So maybe possibly, if you would be, I don't know, super sensitive about that, you could replace those cables with something better and just bypass those connectors and maybe solder the cables directly to the board. But for me, that's perfectly fine as it is. And we have two replaceable operational amplifiers, and these are actually OPA 1612 in the DIP8 sockets, which is a very nice thing. But there's more OPA 1612 those guys are also OPA 1612, but we also do have some Immortal 5532 chips. And we have JRC volume control and DSP for bass and treble controls. Now, what else can we see on this board? We obviously can see Asahi Kasei. Yeah, that's the guy. And we can see two more things. The first one is that this part of the board is responsible for the XLR and single-ended outputs, and it's using better quality operational amplifiers. This part of the board, this section, is discrete headphone amplifier. That explains the power that this baby can achieve, because this is actually a real discrete headphone amplifier. Yeah, and I think that's it. Nothing interesting on the back. Yeah, I think that's all about the build. So, in order to assemble the device again, you need to slide the board into the lowest cutouts in the chassis. Yeah, you need to remember about those guys. These flat connectors can be pretty delicate. Yeah. And you need to reconnect the front panel and to screw the two bags together. I'll do that in a second with the camera off, but one thing that I'd like to tell you is that those extenders are pretty irritating when it comes to the screwing them here, because they will not exactly match the holes in the back panel. So you have to feel a little to place the screws inside and to screw them back. So it's an easy job all in all, but you may get irritated. Give me a second and I will reconnect that again. Okay, so we're back. To finish the part about the build quality, let's take a look at the remote. You can basically do all the controls that are accessible from the menu with the remote. The interesting fact is that, do they look similar to you? Because they surely do to me. So, it's either a compliment for Fosi, or I don't know what that is for Gastard, because you either have a Gastard level remote with your Fosi, or you have a Fosi level remote with your Gastard. Yeah, these are basically the same, but the codes are different, so no worries, you won't be able to control two digital to analog converters with one and the same remote. Oh, as you can see, I've selected the line out, so the volume control now is dead because it's set to the 99. Let's change that to aux, so we will have volume control for the outputs. Yeah, and it works perfectly fine. Now, let's talk about the sound quality. Yeah, the bass. You may not believe that, and I couldn't too at first. I had to check that 3 times, but in a supercut by Lord at 0.55 seconds mark, and then again at 1 minute at 20 seconds mark with T9.4 connected as a power amplifier, I've literally felt the bass in my chest, and it wasn't even very loud. This means that this unit has excellent bass extension. The bass is clean, it's precise with a hint of warmth. That's part of the Asahi Kasei. It's like there would be some mid-bass added to make it warmer, but the frequency response is completely flat. This is part of the signature Asahi Kasei velvet sound, this small hint of warmth, but it's not something that you could see in the frequency response, so magic. Mid-range. All the vocals are very natural and organic. Again, this is one of the trademark Asahi Kasei sound signature elements. Mid-range is detailed and clear. There is not even a trace of sibilance. If you're familiar with Asahi Kasei sound, you will recognize most of the things that I will be talking about. Some of the string instruments like guitars sometimes can even sound sweet. It doesn't always happen, but when it happens, it reminds me of the tube sound. There is a lot of emotion in female voices, especially, like for example in Fragile cover by Marilyn Keller. That's one of my test tracks for detail, because there are some very nice guitars in the beginning, vocals, because she has absolutely beautiful voice, and also emotion, because the way she's singing sometimes comes as a very emotional with some of the equipment, and sometimes it's just a very nice song. So, moving on to treble. The treble has a very good extension, but it's also very smooth. Again, not a trace of sibilance. You can listen to ZH3 for hours and there will be no listening fatigue. Treble is also nicely detailed. You can hear it in vibrating strings, and that brings us to the detail. There is a lot of detail, but the word here is musicality. This means that this detail is not being thrown in your face, but if you will look for it, it's all there. Better power supply helps there a lot, and we will talk about that a little bit later. Yes, we'll get to that later. And all in all, ZH3 has a very good resolution. Now, imaging. The soundstage is very wide, with excellent center image. There is a lot of depth to it, not as much as with new Sabre 1959 MS, which basically means that this guy still does a little deeper soundstage, but it's still a lot. So we have imaging layers, yeah, with proper spacing, and you can easily point the sound source's location to the sides, to the back, to the front. It works fine. That was when I was testing this unit as a digital to analog converter. Now let's talk about the sound quality when it was used as a headphone amplifier, pure headphone amplifier only. Just a couple of things to note, because most of it was the same. So the overall signature remains the same, but there is even more detail and clarity, especially with highly demanding planar headphones. I was testing this with my Aria Organic, and the sound was excellent. There was a lot more detail coming from this amplifier than with external stereo amplifier and speakers. My planars are obviously faster than my dynamic speakers, but there is more air and transparency with headphones, with this headphone amplifier. There is no hiss, even with very high volume levels, on high gain and with my sensitive IMs. As one of my tests, I've connected my most sensitive IMs to the balanced output, and I've maxed out the volume level, obviously with music stopped, and the background was clear. There was no hiss whatsoever. One thing I noticed here though is that the bass doesn't seem to go as low as it goes in digital to analog converter only mode. This may be related to the frequency response of my headphones too. It's quite possible that it's not about the headphone amplifier or the headphone outputs. Maybe it's just my headphones that cannot reach as low as T9.4 and the regular dynamic speakers. But it was consistent with all four sets of headphones that I was using during my tests. Now, we've talked about the sound qualities, and as you may hear, I like this guy a lot, but this guy can actually sound even better with a few simple things. So, as long as the included power supply seems to be better than the mistake, let's call that mistake, that was delivered with ZD3, it can still be upgraded with something like Hades supercapacitor. That's the guy. I've done a review on that. I will try to link to that if I won't forget in the video description. It may be hard to get them because they are selling like hot cupcakes when they are available. But let me show you something. This little guy and this little guy, and we're doing something like that. Yeah. So we have battery powered digital to analog converter right now. But in the meantime, okay, so the power supply can still be upgraded with HiFi or replaced with linear power supply, and that's actually the single biggest upgrade you can make here, and I highly recommend doing that. Oh yeah, it's slowly starting to lose stability, but it's still fighting. And it was like, yeah, it's there. And it was like, I don't know, minute, something like that. Oh, it's still there. It's not dead. Okay, let's not be cruel. Yeah. Okay, so this is a single biggest upgrade you can make just getting a bigger, better power supply. Either super cap for the regular power supply or linear power supply. This is just 12 volts DC, pretty standard voltage, so there will be no problem in getting good quality linear power supply for that. Okay, so I highly recommend doing that. OPA 1612 that you've seen on the sockets inside that are stock operational amplifiers are actually really good. So replacing them is more about fine-tuning the sound signature to your liking than upgrading. Having said that, good Class A discrete ones, I never heard anyone. So I've tried this guy with some of the discrete Class A operational amplifiers from my collection, and I can tell you that which ones are working here fine are the ones actually that can fit inside, and those would be horizontal Acliam 06, the Burson Vivid and Classic V7, obviously the Burson V5E hybrids because they are just really small. Acliam LC5 was too tall, Staccato was too tall, although Staccato horizontal version would probably fit here because there's a lot of space around the operational amplifiers, but I do not have them here, so I'm not able to confirm that for 100%. So let's get to the summary. ZH3 is so good as a digital to analog converter that it can actually compete with ZD3. ZD3 still edges it slightly when it comes to the sound quality, but with ZH3 you are getting a really good headphone amplifier included in the package. So it's like being so much next level that you no longer compete with other companies, but with your own products. I have to admit that I don't know if ZH3 is actually a headphone amplifier with digital to analog converter added, or maybe rather it's a digital to analog converter with headphone amplifier added. Leaving that question aside, this is just excellent device that I am happy to recommend. Price-wise, it's almost the same as ZD3. At $290 for ZD3, so it seems like a better value overall because those DACs are, let's say, on a very similar level. ZD3 still slightly edges ZH3, but not by a lot. Okay, so if you don't care about headphone amplifier and want just pure digital to analog converter with HDMI ARC input, then go for ZD3, because this one, yes, it doesn't have a headphone amplifier, yeah, but it also has HDMI ARC input, and it has a USB with regular USB A to B cable. So you have, if you have a high quality A to B cable, you may want to go with that. But the price difference is so small, and the sound quality is so small that it seems like this is just a free bonus here. And it's actually very good. If you want pure DAC, go for ZD3. If you want very good digital to analog converter with headphone amplifier, and actually a really powerful headphone amplifier, ZH3 is the best choice. On a side note, this also shows that former flagships like Asahi Kasei 4493 are still excellent choice with really big potential. You may remember that I've reviewed Fosi K7 that was using the same chip inside. And again, Fosi K7 is a 2025 device. Asahi Kasei 4493 already has a few years, but still that's one of the best, if not the best, gaming or desktop headphone amplifier with digital to analog converter with small factor form available now. So Fosi knows what it's doing when it's using this Asahi Kasei chips. So I hope you liked this small video. If you did, and if it helped you in any way, you're more than welcome to support my channel by buying me a beer via PayPal link available below, or YouTube Super Thanks that's also available below. All the links and my test system setup details in the video description. And guys, thanks for watching and have a great day with your music. See you next time. Bye.